I am so glad you guys decided to join me in my stamp room once again. Thank you so much for being a part of Stamping Scott. Today, we have two cards we're going to assemble together, and you can easily assemble two cards anytime you do some stamping. I find making two cards at the same time is so much easier than just making one, but I thought I would throw in a second option that's monochromatic. So we got three colors here, and then really just one color with black and white. Really cool. We're using the Soft Seedlings stamp set featured in the new catalog that goes through the end of December of 2022. I want to remind you guys, it's super easy to shop on my stamp site. You just have to go to stampingscott.stampinup.net. You will see all the new catalog items there. Also, if you place an order from me within the last 6 months of $50 or more, you get all my new catalogs. It's a part of my catalog VIP club. You will also receive a free card from me the month later when you place an order with me. And if it's over $50, you get a free surprise as well. It's so cool. I love having you as my customer. It's so amazing that you have decided to be a part of this journey with me. Speaking of journeys, you're going to see some changes on my YouTube channel. Eventually, my YouTube channel is going to be renamed to The Quilting Camper. That's because I've made some adjustments to the way I bring media and contact to my customers. I now also want to share my quilting journey, my photography journey, all the things I like to do, and I just felt like after my dad passed away this year, having a website that features everything I like to do, I thought it was time to create a blog. And that blog is called thequiltingcamper.com. I want to empower you to check it out. It went live on October 1st. I've been working on it all summer, so I'm very happy to share it with you. Stamping Scott's not going away. Stamping Scott has a place on that webpage, and I will still continue to be a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. I'm just choosing to share more ways to share kindness in the world. So during the video, you will notice item numbers along with the description of what product I'm using that will reference back to my shop site. Also, you're going to see a product list before we get started of all the sizes and the things that we're going to need to make the cards. Something new I wanted to try. Also, at the end of the video, as always, I'll have extra samples of these cards and a list of all the supplies used. And there will be some bloopers, you guys. I've already recorded several. So I can't wait to get started to share these cards with you today. For the first card, you will need Old Olive cardstock, cut at 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4 inches. Crushed curry cardstock, cut at 5.5 by 4 inches. Basic white cardstock, cut at 5 inches by 3 3/4 inches. Crushed curry classic stamp pad. Old Olive classic stamp pad. Pumpkin pie classic stamp pad. Memento black ink. Black matte dots. Black and white gingham ribbon, cut at 6 inches. Cling mount stamp set, Soft Seedlings. Thinking of You, mounted on an H block. The maple leaf, mounted on a E block. Stylish shaped dies, using a larger banner. A Stampin' Cut embossed mini machine. Some kind of paper snips. Mini Stampin' Dimensionals. Cello tape. And of course, Stampin' Seal Plus. For the second card, additional cuts of the following will be needed. Old Olive cardstock, cut at 8.5 by 5.5, scored by 4 1/4. Basic black cardstock, cut at 5 1/4 by 4. Basic white cardstock, cut at 5 inches by 3 3/4. And of course, the black and white gingham 1/4 inch ribbon, cut at 6 inches. Okay, let's get ready to make these cards. I'm so excited, you guys. I haven't done a video in a while, so I'm happy that I get to share a card that represents my favorite time of the year for colors. I'm a fall color guy. Crushed curry, pumpkin pie, old olive. I was thinking about those colors when I made this card. So remember I said this is kind of a 2-for-1. We're gonna make 2 cards with the same design. One's gonna be monochromatic and one is going to be the tricolor. We're going to do the stamping first for both cards. Remember, sometimes it's easier to do 2 cards at one time, stamp them at the same time. We're going to do that right now. This is a super easy card. You can whip these out really quick, okay? So we're going to take our card supplies. I already told you what the measurements were at the beginning of the video. We're going to take the 2 basic white cards and we'll put the other parts aside, okay? We're going to do the tricolor first. I have my stamp mounted to a E-block, and this is the Soft Seedling stamp set that I'm using. Now with this one, we want to start with the lightest color first and then kind of go down, okay? So we're going to start with crushed curry. And this is an older pad, so I might have to pound a little bit more. And remember, if you like, you can do it this way too. Take my first piece of white cardstock, position it like this, and I'm going to do stamp off the card. I'm going to take the stamp and stamp off the card. Okay. Hold it down for a couple seconds to let it saturate the cardstock. Pretty. And it kind of develops as it sits. It gets darker. Remember to have your Stampin' Scrubber handy. You've seen me use this before. Stampin' Mist is what I use on one side. Clean it. Dry it, boom. I'm going to close this ink because I'm not going to use it again. And now we're going to go for pumpkin pie. Are you guys craving pumpkin pie, or have you had enough pumpkin spice lately? I don't know. I'm sort of undecided. I love my pumpkin pie in November, but everything is pumpkin spice. And it's like, I want to still like my pumpkin pie too, but I love the color. And go ahead and do it this way. It doesn't matter which way you put the ink on. If you want to do it this way, you can do it that way too. I just think you pound more when you do it this way. Yeah. If everyone's asleep in the house, maybe do it the other way. And I'm just going to kind of go right to the center, overlapping the crushed curry. Hold it down and then lift. Gorgeous, huh? There's so much gratification with stamping. There we go. Now it's time for old olive. And I'm gonna go ahead and clean my stamp pad. It's still wet on this side, so I'm gonna just go ahead and do that. I can't tell you how much of a mess it makes when you use baby wipes. Stampin' Scrubber just makes everything clean, and then you don't have ink all over your fingers, which is really nice. Because if you have ink on your fingers, what does Stamping Scott say? It'll be on your face, I guarantee it. And worst of all, it'll be on your project, and you don't want that. Okay. Aren't these colors awesome? I just love how saturated these colors look. Ooh, nice. So I'm going to let this one dry for a little bit, and we're going to do the other card. Now remember, the other card is monochromatic, so we're going to stamp this out. And we're using the Stampin' Off technique, which I'll show you. Go ahead and get your cardstock here. Now, because I'm using old olive, I don't need to clean my stamp off. Although I will share a tip with you. When ink starts to get on these edges, that can be problematic for getting onto your project. So you might want to not push down too hard if this starts to happen, or clean your stamp. Now this one, it's darkest on the bottom. Go ahead and do that. Put it down the bottom. Just hold it. Release. That looks nice. So I'm going to go ahead and re-ink it again. And we're going to do what we call a Stampin' Off technique. What that does is we stamp off one ink layer like this, and then we're going to go ahead and do another one. It's a little bit lighter the second time around. And what that does is it gives a different shade. Look at that, see? It's like 2 different colors. One ink pad creates 2 colors. Now we're going to do a Stampin' Off a third time. So I'm going to stamp it off once, stamp it off twice. Now I'm going to huff on the stamp. just to make sure it's still moist enough. There we go. It's even lighter. Just barely, but it kind of gives that nice variegated effect. Now let's clean the stamp. Nice, huh? Love the Stampin' Scrubber. Once these two are done, it goes really quick. Ooh, look at that. I have some ink on here. So guess what? When I make the card, this sentiment will go over that. You won't even notice it. So we're going to kind of make it work that way so we don't have to worry about that ink showing anywhere. So we don't have to redo it. How cool is that? There's always flexibility in design. Now the second thing we have to stamp is the sentiment, which is thinking of you. Now we're using the Stylish Shapes die set, which I love because they're stitched, so you have a really nice texture to the edges. And we're going to use this larger banner here. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that out. Okay. Put my cards away over here. I have 2 scraps of basic white cardstock. I did not include these with my measurements at the beginning of the video because they're scraps. So you might have some scraps of basic white laying around. I keep all of my scraps and I just leave it with my cardstock. In a situation like this, I might actually be able to use it. I'm using Memento Tuxedo Black ink, not StazOn. I could use StazOn, but I want to keep this simple. StazOn requires a special ink cleaner to keep your stamp clean. This is just simple. We want to whip these cards off quickly. And Memento is a beautiful black ink. It just has a little bit of a bluish cast, but it's a beautiful ink. I actually like it. All right, now let's get the fun thing. We are going to get our plates ready here and our Stampin' Cut Emboss mini machine, and we're gonna die cut these babies. Oh yes, and I should clean this, right? Okay. I'm jumping the gun. I do that all the time. You know, it's still damp, so I don't have to respray it. It's still clean as well. All right, let's open this little guy up. I love this little machine. It is so amazing. And I would say about 80% of all the dies that Stampin' Up has, it fits in this machine. So you don't have to get Stampin' Cut Emboss machine. Now I have them both and I love them both. This one really comes handy for stuff like this. And you can see I keep one of my plates for the top and one of them that has the die cuts on the bottom. I want to position it just right. And I use a Post-it note tape. You can get this on Amazon or at Target. I think Target sells it. And that's because it's a removable tape. Some people use masking tape. I just never have luck with masking tape. This is less sticky, but I want to de-stick it a little bit. And I'm going to go ahead and position the frame die around my sentiment the way I like it. And I'm just going to lightly position that Post-it note tape on my die onto the cardstock. And I'm going to make my sandwich and I'm going to rotate it through. I love this little guy. They're only like $60, something like that. And it comes with all the plates. Such a deal. There you go. And look at that, it even has the stitches on it. It's so cute. Now, because we're making 2 cards, we're gonna make another one. And I think you'll agree that once you start making 2 cards at the same time, it doesn't add even more than 5 minutes to the whole process. When you make 2 cards at the same time, you seem like you're more productive. I don't know, I make multiple cards at the same time all the time. I just finished a card swap where I made 25 cards. I sent in 21, but I made 25. And I do them in stages and I whip them out. It still takes a long time to do 25 cards, but whenever you make a card, always make them in 2s. I learned that from my best friend, Robin. She taught me that years ago. And she's right. There we go. So Robin, if you're listening, thank you so much for that great tip. Very nice. Such a simple card. Put this away. All right. So here are our cards. What we have to do now is basically assemble it. That's where we're at. So we're going to do these at the same time. So here's my stamped images here. Remember, we're going to take care of that. You're not going to see it on the card. Little boo-boo. We can cover it up. So here's the supplies. The other 2 supplies. This one's for the tricolor and this one's for the monochromatic. So I'm going to go ahead and put these 2 aside. These are my 2 pieces of old olive cardstock. They are scored at 4 1/4. And if you have a bone folder like this, they work really nicely. You're just going to fold it, and then you just use this to sort of do the crease. that. Just like that. And we'll put those aside. So we're going to embellish this with the ribbon. In the supplies, I said you would need 2 6-inch strips of the black and white gingham ribbon. So I have one here, and here's my roll. I'll make another one. 6 inches, just to give yourself a little bit of extra room. So when you tape it around the backside, it actually holds itself together. So I'm going to get some cello tape. I like the cello tape because it's transparent tape. And it tends to be more forgiving with adhesive. That's just something I've learned versus like the invisible tape. The Scotch tape with the green doesn't work as well as the one with the red. Does that help? I just think cello tape adheres to adhesive better. So we got that going on here. All right, so now I want to make sure my banner is going to cover that green. It does a pretty good job, that little spot. I'm going to reposition it. That's the other thing. Cello tape is very forgiving. I can lift it up. And it doesn't fall apart like the other tape. And I know some of you love the dollar store. You can get this cello tape at the Dollar Tree. I did buy it at the Dollar Tree one time, and this is what I got. Look at how thin that is. I went to Target and got the wider. I like the wider. It's worth it. So the Dollar Tree is a great place to go, but we don't think about the width of tape until we get it home and realize that a wider tape would work better. So there we go. I repositioned that gingham ribbon, so now when I put the thinking of you, it covers that green spot, my accident. See? All right, so now let's go ahead and do the other one. I talk too much. I could be getting more work done. Here we go. That's, you know what, stamping and card making is a social activity. That's why I think a lot of us crafters make videos, because we like to share that time with you. I know I do. It's been a rough year for me, you guys, and I'm glad I'm here making a video. It started with my dad passing away on Memorial Day, and after that, it's just been downhill all summer. But I've had a lot of blessings, so I have to be grateful for that, you know, but this has been a big obstacle in my life. So I'm going to go ahead and now adhere these to the back. Now, of course, I want to get these right. The tricolor one goes on the crushed curry cardstock, and the monochromatic goes on the basic black cardstock like that. And for this video, I am using Stampin' Seal Plus. You could use Stampin' Seal, but Stampin' Seal Plus has a little extra tack to it, whereas when you have extra depth like the ribbon, it's going to adhere better and it will not lift. It's worth it. And I know some Stampin' Up! Demonstrators only use Stampin' Seal Plus. They don't do the Stampin' Seal. Just because I know this is good for everything. But there is no forgiveness, you guys. This is, once it's down, it doesn't come back up again. And we're gonna line this up as best as possible. Like I said, it's no going back. I actually am standing right now, and I find when I stand and make cards, I aim better and I get straighter lines. Now we're gonna do that for the tricolor one. Isn't it cool when you make 2 cards at once? It's so much easier. You feel like you accomplish more too. I use more adhesive than I probably should, but I just don't want my cards to fall apart. Yeah, it's pretty good. Could be straighter, but this is handmade, right? All right, now we're gonna go ahead and adhere it to the bases of my cards, and it doesn't matter, they're both old olive. And you know what? Go ahead and mix it up, you guys. Try your own color combinations. This one, I'm just gonna do the edges. Isn't this fun? There we go. This one. We are almost done. And yes, I have some bloopers for you too. I haven't filmed a video for like 3 months, and I realized that after working a full 9-hour shift and coming home to film a video, as motivated as I am to do it and excited to do it, words just weren't coming out right. All right, so now we're gonna put our sentiments on here. Look at that. Now for this one, we are gonna use mini Stampin' Dimensionals. You can use standard Stampin' Dimensionals, but the minis work better because then it goes around the ribbon, and you'll see what I mean by that. And just because they're mini doesn't mean you have to use more. Some people think that, but I don't. I don't know how many of you have release tapes all over your house. I do. I find these little hexagons everywhere. It reminds me that I had fun making my cards. There we go. We're gonna cover that mistake with the banner. And that secret's just between you and I. Make sure it's even. Look at that. Yay. And now we're gonna do it on this one here. Now this stamp set has a helicopter from a maple leaf tree. We used to call these helicopters, I don't know about you, but that's what I used to call them. You could put them over here and decorate some of this negative space. Totally up to you. And of course, you don't have to use the thinking of you. You could use the for you or so grateful. But you know me, I like to keep it simple. And if I only have one stamp set to do a whole card, I think that makes everyone happier. Now it looks like we're done, but we still have a little bit of negative space up here. So I have some black matte dots to fill that area. We're just gonna put 2 in each corner and then we're done. They've been in the catalog for like 3-4 years now, and I just started using them. I'm like, oh, I like these. Now I use a scissors to lift my black matte dots up. You can use a tweezers like this. I've even seen people use the edge of their bone folder and do this. We do have a take a pick tool that you can use too. I just like keeping it simple. Hold the dot between the scissors and then I lift it and I'm just gonna put it down. The adhesive stays on the dot. Just wiggle it off the cellophane and then put it down. Cool. See, it just adds a little something, just a little bit of something. Just kind of fills that negative space. I've seen this technique a lot used on other videos, and some creators I love do this technique too. We could do some other things. Like I said, you could stamp something there too. It just fills the negative space. And I do keep all of my packaging together so that way I know what it is and keeps it organized. There. Look at that. Isn't that awesome? That was such an easy card, you guys. And like I said, when you make 2 of them at the same time, it goes by quick. Now, I have a little robot vacuum here, Roomba. He can clean up all these little release tapes on the floor. Put my cap back on Stampin' Seal. And there you go. 2 amazing cards, all set for fall. And because I already made 2 before I made the video, now I have 4. See? Look at how cool that is. And even though they look a little bit different, that's because they're handmade. Remember, whenever you create things with your hands, you're sharing kindness with everyone. Keep in mind that we do this because we want to share with each other. We want to have a connection with each other. I find as time goes on with social media and with all the things that we see on TV or on your streamed television as it would be, we have kind of lost connections of keeping some of those traditions alive. Sending letters, handwriting a little note seems to have gone by the wayside. And there's a lot of you out there that do it still to this day, and I applaud you for doing it. But thinking of you, I'm thinking of all of you. That's why I wanted to create a video and say hi again and present to you a really easy card. All the supplies I have used here today, remember, are available on my shop site, stampingscott.stampinup.net. I would love for you to try this and see what you think. Use the colors that you have at home. You know, there's other colors you could do with these leaves. You don't have to do these 3 colors, or do a monochromatic look. You know, do it with the pumpkin pie or the crushed curry. That would look really cool too. Or maybe early espresso. You know, there's a couple other colors, which is a nice brown, that would make this card pop. I know I have a suede ribbon that's early espresso, and that would look really nice too. So think of the supplies you already have. I'm not here to sell you lots of supplies you don't need. I'm here to inspire you with the supplies you do have, and maybe try a new stamp set and give it a shot. Also, if you want to have a really nice versatile die set, these are great. I mean, I love having these stitch shapes and then having these banners. We do have punches that can do the same thing, but let me tell you, running it through a die machine is really quick and easy than messing with a punch. Okay, you guys, I hope you enjoyed my video today. It was a pleasure having you on board again. Remember, stay tuned for my new blog, The Quilting Camper. Check it out if you want to. I'm starting to add posts there once a week, maybe twice a week. You will find this video there as well. Let me know if you have any questions. And if you really enjoyed this video, please put a comment below. I love your comments. I love it when you give me a thumbs up. It's just really great to have you in my stamping life. And remember, Stamping Scott's not going anywhere. I'm here, and I'm still your Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. I'm just changing my social media platforms to be more broad scale, to be more about everything I do and not just one thing I do. But I'm not going away. Stampin' Scott's here to stay. If you ever want to host an online workshop, I'm here for you, and we'll have a party, and we'll make something fun like this, and we'll have a blast. Fall is here, y'all. Thank you so much, and we'll see you soon. Bye for now. That you can relate back to my stampingscott.stampinup.net shop site. Boy, that's a lot to say in one word. Why don't I redo that again? I just realized these may not be big enough. Is that not close or what? Boy, I'm living on the wild side of this one. Ooh. You know what though? It's not gonna go through my machine. We're gonna redo it. And I'm gonna redo this all over again. Basic black cardstock cut at 5 1/4 by 4. I can't pick it up! Ah! Once again, thank you so much for watching. Please check out some of my other videos on my YouTube channel, Stamping Scott. See you really soon!